Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
To check your oil pan for leaks, you're going to have to raise and support your vehicle. Or underneath, we're going to inspect it. And we can actually see there is oil along the edge. This particular type of oil pan and engine combination uses a gray RTV sealant as the gasket. It's probably started to deteriorate, and that's causing the leaks around the edge. And you can see the leaks all around the edge between the engine block and the oil pan. It's really bad on this side. That's just all oil. To fix that, we're going to need to remove the oil pan after draining the oil. Basically, you're doing an oil change. We're going to take the oil pan down, clean off all the old gasket, and we've actually got a new oil pan to install. Drain plug is 14 millimeter. Use a 14 millimeter box wrench and loosen it and drain the oil. I've got my drain pan ready. Got loose. Drain the oil. Now that it's all drained, reinstall the drain plug. Use a 10 millimeter socket, extension, and ratchet to remove the 14 10 millimeter bolts and nuts that are holding on the oil pan. I'll just start right where I can get to them. There's some rust on them. Gotta knock it off. And you shouldn't have too much torque to them. They're very small. Take that one out, put it aside. Just repeat this for all of them, go all the way around the pan. A couple of these bolts are a little bit hard to reach straight on. I'm going to use a universal joint, 10 millimeter on there. Got some electrical tape around it. It makes them a little stiffer, easier to work with. Just kind of feed it in there and just remove it the same way. Yeah, it was a stud. If the stud comes out attached to the nut, don't worry about it, that's fine. And reuse it just like this. Now, the oil pan is now just stuck to the engine block with the RTV silicone. I'm gonna try to tap it with a dead blow. It might loosen it, it might not. Give it a couple taps. Sometimes it's easier just to go right to a pry bar. So you're gonna take a pry bar, there's a nice little spot here, and go between the seam of that and the oil pan. And I'll take a hammer and just tap it in. You do want to be careful doing this. Try to go in at a flat angle so you don't mar up the surface where the gasket needs to go. And the RTV will fill most gaps, but you don't want to make a huge gouge in it if you don't have to. So I kind of got it started. I'm going to take the larger pry bar. I've got it in there. Start to twist it. There we go. Grab it. It's a little stuck in the front still. Take the smaller pry bar, get it in here. And there we go. I'm gonna work on getting this out of here. So just maneuver it a bit. Go this way, get it down past the oil pickup. And there we have it. There's still some oil in here, so be careful when you lower this. I'm going to dump this into our drain bucket, dispose of it properly. I'm going to use a brand new razor blade and just very carefully go along the edge here, as flat as can be to the surface. Don't want to put any extra marks in it, and just remove all the extra, or all the old RTV silicone. And this can be like a long process. You just have to clean this and get it down to nice shiny aluminum. I'm not gonna worry too much if I miss a spot. I'm gonna come back later and clean it again. But if you can get in here, there's some dried stuff there. You're gonna pull it down. Just gonna go along. It's a messy job. There's gonna be oil dripping. Just do this around the whole edge of the seating surface for the oil pan. I'm gonna take some brake parts cleaner, just kind of spray it in here, and a little bit of emery cloth. Just clean this down. Clean off all the old material. I'm gonna get it nice and clean, just like that, all the way around, so that the new RTV has a good surface to seal to. Here's our oil pan from our vehicle, and our brand new one from oneauto.com. It's an exact match. This will fit great and work great in our vehicle. It doesn't come with a gasket. You'll need to use gray RTV silicone, but otherwise, it comes with a drain plug too. It's ready to be installed. We need to add gray RTV to the sealing edge of our brand new oil pan. I'll get some here. Just gonna start putting it right along the edge. I like to go on the inside of the holes. A nice bead. I'm just going to clean up a little bit of this extra. Just wipe it with a rag. Just get some of this that fell into the pan, clean that up. And a little bit over here. Stuff can be pretty messy. Gloves are definitely recommended. With that on there, now we're ready to reinstall it in the car. Just make sure that your sealing surface is clean and dry. While I was dealing with the oil pan out of the car, a little bit of oil dripped down onto the surface I already cleaned. I'm just gonna wipe it down. You can use a little bit of brake parts cleaner on the rag. Just make sure it's nice and clean and not oily. So we've got it in the correct orientation. The dipstick was pointing down here. I actually pushed the dipstick up to get it out of the way. So we're going to slide this up over the exhaust. At the same time, just get it up, just in place. I'm going to get it up, and I can see the holes. Get it lined up. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to get this bolt caught here, just because it was easy to get to with my fingers. And just thread it in so I know that part of the pan is not going to fall down. And grab another one. And on the other side here, where I can get my fingers to real easily, I'll put one in. Now I'll just go around the pan and keep installing the little bolts. So this one that had the stud on it, I'm going to put it back where I found it. It was probably something for when the engine came down the assembly line. It was easy to install and line up with these little studs on there. And I'm not tightening these all the way right now. I'm just bringing them up and then stopping. Put this bolt in here. Now I'm just going to crisscross and tighten these bolts down on the pan. Start on one side, the other side, tighten it down. Just follow this all the way around. Now you just let the RTV silicone gasket material, just let that dry for about an hour. Then you can refill the car with oil. Also wipe down any oil that dripped on the exhaust. Use an oil filter socket on our extension. I'm going to remove the oil filter. Socket out of here. Well, stuck to the oil filter. I'll have to get it off afterwards. Got our drain pan ready. We're gonna make sure that the oil filter gasket went off with the old oil filter, because we don't want to double gasket it. There is a gasket on here, and if the old one is still there, it can cause a leak. Just gonna take a little bit of the oil that's right here, put it right around the O-ring, and reach up and just spin it on. And we'll just do it hand tight. No need to use that oil filter wrench. Just as tight as you can go by hand. Perfect. Now I'm just going to wipe down any oil that's spilled. To refill the oil, I'm going to open the oil cap. It actually says on it the recommended weight, 5W30. The vehicle takes 4 quarts of oil. Put our funnel in there. This container is 5 quarts. So when it gets down to this bottom line, I'll pull the dipstick and double check it. All right, getting close to 4 quarts. Just gonna finish it off. All right, so it's got 4 quarts of oil in there. Take the funnel out, reinstall the oil cap. Wipe down the oil I spilled. I'm gonna pull the dipstick and just check the oil level. I'll wipe it off. Put the dipstick back in. It's hard to see because it's nice and clean, but it is right there at the full mark. Now I'm just going to start it and check for any leaks. And then I can shut it off. And then when you're done, just look underneath and make sure there's no oil leaking. That's just from earlier, it dropped on the ground. I got some kitty litter there to dry it up.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at 1AAuto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.